we have nothing to judge it by. And we have a tremendous amount of anticipation and desire to make this work. So I would say, I'm just saying, if it were true that those that didn't have any experience in a relationship were weaker material for marriage, I believe that statistically and practically it's not true. Look around any of the so-called religious communities, and I don't even mean necessarily to limit it to the Jewish people, but I'm focused, that's the people I know best, you will see it's not true. Their marriages have a much better chance of staying because it comes really, again, without any baggage. They feel free to trust one another. Look, just think to yourself. When I was in school, they had this, I forget what they called it. I think they called it outward bound. So they were supposed to teach trust. So what did they do? They used to first of all, we went to the woods. And they tried to encourage us, to scale fences, and one guy had to go down, right? And we did everything in unison. And then, one of the things that we had to do was stick 2, 3, 4 times. And you would hear how she was with her parents and with the relationships and this and that. You ask yourself a question, why are we going out? Does she use me as therapy? Or does she want me to love and admire her? You say, well, how can the person love and admire when you hold things back? Well, the first thing any married couple will tell you, that secrets in a marriage are very healthy. Not every single thing you did as a child, or that passes your mind, should be said. And if it ever occurred to you that there's another man who's slightly more attractive than your middle-aged, pot-bellied husband, there's no mitzvah to be honest and tell him that. Absolutely no mitzvah. Better keep it quiet. I want to be honest. You are honest. You're working together, you're living together, you're loving each other, you have difficult periods, and the main thing is you're growing together. Why is it important to know what should not be said? I would say that past history, we have to know basics. Well, you're a child molester. You have criminal record, stuff like that. You should, so then the question is, how do you get to know the person? What other questions should you ask? Sure.
Or say something. I have met men who said, I've asked them, do you want children? And they said, if I need the right person, if I'm in the right relationship, then I'd like children. And I always find myself kind of not sure how to take that. In other words, do you really want children? I don't know what I have to say about that.
What do you say to a response like that?
Yeah, why not? It's all situational. The right girl, sure, that's how I feel. Yeah, it's something I want. It's got to be the right person. Yeah, most people would. I think most people want that.
Yeah, but to me, it's needing to make something that they want, perhaps, or just not. I'm not just putting this in the context of what you're saying in terms of having a goal. You want to be married, you want to have kids, yes and yes. I don't know. I'm just asking.
What I hear, an answer like that is, if I'm interested in you for marriage, then yeah, I'll have children.
Right.
If I'm not, I don't want to. The answer is no.
Right.
So the answer that you're getting is no. It's not a good answer.
So we have a disagreement over here.
I wouldn't take it out.
Okay, well, what's your name?
I'm Rob. Go ahead.
Rob. Rob says that that's a fair answer. That's a fair answer, should not be taken as a no. Raul says, if a person can't say yes, what is he really saying? I'm dating you for marriage, but if you're the right person, what, make up your mind. Yes or no? Is there anyone that wants to comment about this? About this question?
Yeah, I think what Denora is getting at is, do you love children?
Not do you love children, do you want to have a child?
Well, but in a general sense.
Okay. So how would that answer, how does that response answer the question?
Well, I think the answer would be yes. Yes, I would like children, but it's a sort of a bigger answer.
Again, the number is said like this. The guy says, with the right woman, the answer is yes. Hear me, right? You're saying that what? That he said he loved children?
No.
So I'm asking you, how do you, that answer, what should the woman take from that response? That this man wants children or not?
It sounds like an ambivalent response.
Okay. So then I'm inclined to believe that that's not a good response. When I say it's not a good response, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but that means that you've already now touched something that has to be explored. And it has to be explored. And it's not something that should be at the end. It has to be something which is somewhat in the forefront. Why? Because you're getting married for what reason? If it's merely to get physical, chances are there are alternatives. Maybe not as satisfying, maybe it's a little bit too emotional and so on, but there's a possibility, of it. Children, you're looking for stability. You're looking for a father. You're looking for a mother. You're looking for a home. You're looking for a feeling. You're looking for, it's a life goal. If a person can't say, yes, I want children, then in my book, this person probably would see children as an afterthought. And anyone that's going to see children as an afterthought means that we do not share the same goals with the same intensity. Now, I didn't say you can't go further with that, but that means you have to keep in mind that your timetables might not coincide. You might want to have a child within 2 years because you're getting a bit older, whatever, and that person says, I've just gotten to know you, and besides, next year I get my bonus, so I was thinking of traveling. So that's a source of friction. Another source of friction is that you're going to want this person because you love children, and you desire children, and you're willing to live your life in a marriage to a certain extent for the children, you're going to want an active father. You have to understand right now that this type of an answer means that I might not be that type of a father. And you have to make that decision in the beginning, prioritize your goal. How important to me is children? Would I marry someone, and this is of course not going to happen, but would I marry someone that's impotent or something like that? Oh, I had what do you call it, vasectomy, whatever you call it. No, you can't sire a child, but he could be a great mate. Would I marry such a person? If the answer is yes, then you've put your priorities in a certain order. If your answer is no, I want a kid, then you've already clarified something. Okay, so what else do you want to find out about the person? Here's a question for you. Okay, let's put down the word nice, okay? Or good-natured. How can you find out if a man is good-natured? Or for that matter, if a girl is good-natured? Right, you're dating for marriage, right? And your goal is to find out as much information as possible. How do you find out this information? Anyone?
Yeah, the good nature perhaps is more like character, perhaps.
Okay,
That's
so how do
I
you
would say.
figure out
That's
character?
the vacuum without character. Yes, you want marriage, you want children, but character counts. Character is almost
Right, okay.
everything.
So now let's go. What this established is that you want to go out with this person, okay? And of course, you have a when. When you want to get married? Within a year, within 6 months, within 10 years, right? So you basically are going to make sure that that goal is conveyed very soon. Because he says, look, I told you I want to get married. He says, what are we waiting for? If you want to get married and I want to get married, what are we waiting for? Until I become a partner. You know something? I'm not waiting that long. Or alternatively, you explore it. Why do you want to be a partner? Because it gives me financial stability. I'm happy the way we are. And then you'll keep your word. Or I'll work on the side, whatever. Okay? So this we know already. Now you want to go and you have a sort of and now you have to find out if it's good nature. How do you find out if it's good nature? This gentleman says, well, you want to find out about his character. How do you find out about the character of a person?
Well, first of all, you spend time with them. Second of all, it's like you put them in a lot of experience with them, a lot of different situations.
Give me
Many of
examples.
which are tough. You have a car accident, or one of your friends gets injured, someone gets drunk. A lot comes out under really high stress.
Are you suggesting that we get into a car accident?
No, I'm not. Maybe you're not understanding exactly what I'm saying. So you spend time with someone, certain situations happen, many of which are good, many of which are not good. The way the person reacts tells you a
So
lot
I'm
about
asking
their
you
character.
to give me some practical, down-to-earth, not scary stuff. You know, we're sitting at Starbucks, for heaven's sake. How am I supposed to find out if this man who's making a very nice impression on me is really a nice person?
You see, for example, here's the thing. You see how he reacts to children or whatever they're walking around.
Okay, good. Okay. So gauge reaction. You're, I'm sorry, with H, right?
Howard.
Howard, yes. What, you raised your hand, right?
Okay, yeah, I'd say,
Okay,
so
so
GGUB.
yes.
I would say, as you're doing things with the person, you can find out if they do sports. I think sports is sometimes a good way to see if the person is, winning is more important or cheating or, things like that.
I think it's a good idea. In Starbucks, you should play chess.
Oh, yeah.
Or checkers.
We're in
For those that are not intellectually developed, checkers is fine, Chinese checkers.
Well, I think
How about trouble? You play trouble? But as a kid? This is trouble, yeah.
Okay, so we're just in Starbucks and we're trying to find out this.
I don't know if Starbucks is the best place. Do you have any other suggestions?
I'm just saying, we usually when
Okay.
getting to know a person.
Gauge reactions, okay, of everyday life. Well, I'll help you out. Okay, of everyday life. Can anyone else suggest something besides sports, for example? Can we?
Well, something I experienced, having been some with this woman, and she's being really very curt and bossy with the wait people, with the waiters.
Mhm.
And to me, it showed not a nice quality.
Good. Okay, fine. So you gauge reaction, everyday life. Let's put down.
What's with all the Starbucks promotion?
Okay, because I think, you know what? Because Yossi used to have speed dating at Starbucks. That's why. Okay. You know what you should be doing? And this is a very important word. You should be talking. You shouldn't be doing anything necessarily together other than talking. If you want to have a dinner, and if you want to go to a restaurant, and if you want to see art, and if you want to discuss politics, all of that is good. You want to get to know a person. The first and foremost way you get to know a person is by talking to that person. Wait a minute, please. Talking with the person. We confuse conversation with talk. Or to put it a little bit differently, today everyone's talking, you don't know anymore what's important and what's not. If you, for example, are driving, okay, and you're both listening to music, have you been talking? Well, what happens if you talk a bit about the music? You still haven't been talking in the sense of, I don't know if you're a good-natured person or not. Because whether you like this pizza or this thing, or you comment about, you make an astute comment about nature. Oh, it's smart, it's nice, so what? I want to find character. The first way you investigate character is by talking to the people. So first of all it's inevitable that when you're talking, you might have a disagreement. The way you disagree is crucial. If the person could say, I hear your point, I disagree with it, or I think you're misinformed, there are ways to say that. The person says, you're wrong, I've never heard something so ridiculous. Or, well, why don't you say something original already? Stuff like that. You pick up something. The guy is not, or she is not, respecting an opinion. We're not even married. If this is the way when we're supposed to be impressing one another, right? How is it going to be when we take each other for granted? So when you talk, first of all, there's just the way you talk to each other. And of course, we're always acting on the date. That's true. But still, it's important. The more you talk, the more you'll see truth. Now, the more you talk about crucial issues, for example, what do you think a marriage is? What do you think about career? Would you like to have a wife husband that has career first and second, and wife and family third and fourth? I mean, what would you sacrifice a better paying job to spend more time with your family? Incidentally, and this is not an incidental, do you have a family? Oh, I haven't spoken to my mom for years. Tells you something about the person. Okay. You might want to explore it, but you might want to say, maybe I shouldn't go there. He doesn't talk to his mother for years. I'm not going to explore it. But I'm putting it somewhere in my file of character. A son, daughter who can't talk to a parent means something happened. Now, let me dance around it. How would you like a child, you know? You pick issues. Not necessarily who won scores, is this a good movie or not. You pick things which are important to you. If the biggest conversation is, boy, you're a knockout, you know, you look so beautiful, and there's a lot about stuff about that, so you know they appreciate physical, superficial beauty. How about my soul? How about my character? How about my feelings? Talk. If the goal is to find out about one another and you want to talk, where should you go? And the answer is any place where talking is encouraged. Don't go to a library. Can you imagine? You go to a library and this is it. It's finally quiet. Yeah, and the librarian that has you see the librarians that have the glasses hanging. I know that's what I grew up. This old lady always used to come and tell us, "Tony, too loud." No, the library is not the place. Neither is a museum, frankly. Can you have fun? Yes. It's secondary. It really is secondary. I'm on a mission. I'm on a goal. My mission and goal is to get married. I'm looking for someone that wants to walk down that path with me. Because there's so many, I want you to say to yourself, I'm going to have to knock out 98% of my dates. This is terrible. I'm going to be lonely. I'll be celibate the rest of my life. Well, there's a lot we have to talk, and I told you, this is just beginning. In the further subsequent lectures, I have to get into this much deeper. But when you go back to your whys, why would someone date me? You go back and you say to yourself, why would someone want to marry me? Ask yourself that question. If you're secure on why someone would want to marry you, because I am loyal, because I am trusting, because I love, because I'm attractive, because I'm very good physically, I'm very good emotionally. I can be a terrific mom. I can make delicious suppers. I could be your listening ear. If that's what you know about yourself, the partner or the colleague or the man, woman that they'll pick up on this immediately. And they're going to hit themselves over the head and say, how come I've never met you before? Where have you been hiding all of these years? Because your best qualities in terms of marriage, you've presented. So what do you want to do? You want to dazzle the person with trivia? They're not going to marry a person for trivia. They will dazzle a person. So, you know something? I come from a very loving family. Well, I've had difficulty, but it's wonderful. I'm so happy. It was rough during high school. I have a beautiful relationship with my parents. I visit them. I have nephews and nieces. I take care of them. I buy, stuff like that. I volunteer once a week. Whatever you feel is a quality that will be helpful in a marriage, that's what you're going to be talking about. Or that's what you're going to be steering the conversation to. And that's what you want in return. And if all he can talk about is how good he is, another business deal, whatever it is, you realize that his priorities are totally different. And then you have two choices. Do I want to continue with this person? Or do I want to cut my loss right now and avoid being emotionally, physically devastated at walking down the path with someone who I feel took advantage of my trust, took advantage of my openness, who took advantage of my attractiveness. And then what happens? You get bitter. You get bitter at people. Instead of looking at a man or woman and saying to yourself, this is a person that I could spend or potentially spend my life with, you're looking at every single person as a potential adversary. It's so sad. It's so sad. And that's why the person who has less experience, less relationships in many ways, all it means is either they're more modest or more shy. But they've changed. Look, they're going out with you. Obviously, they became wiser. Yeah.
Oh, quick one. You say something?
Yeah, I apologize. We were supposed to have a break, but if you don't mind, and we'll go for another 20 minutes or so, maybe it's better that way. Or maybe not. What do you say? You want to take a break and I'll be here and then we'll continue later? Or should we just go until 10 and then? What? 5-minute break. Okay. 5-minute break, but don't run away.
There's another bathroom around the corner, by the way, right there.
So you
No, I don't live in the house.
this that there's ways to go about it, but I would not.
I don't know.
I couldn't respond to that, right? At the very best, at the very best.
But I have art place, and I have two art places. They're not small, but that's a side yard.
Okay, as we, we're going to welcome you back. We're going to continue on with this final part of the lecture, and grabbing your seats just to let you know what's coming up in terms of programs. You see all those beautiful flyers in front of you on your desk? They're there not just as an ornament, but they're actually there for you to take home. You'll see all the upcoming programs. You may have written on some of them. Please feel free to take them home. They make wonderful night lights at home. It never gets dark if you have a power failure. But they also double, of course, as wonderful flyers in terms of what's going on in the community. So please take them home with you. There's also a calendar listing for your fridge in terms of everything that's going on. You can see in a calendar format. So again, please take that home with you. The packets are yours as well to take home. Just so you know, as an FYI, so this series, Rabbi Happens mentioned, is going to continue in terms of the name is going to change, and different facets of Judaism, relationships will be looked at, called The Dating Game Explained, in a 3-part series, Thursday nights. You can now drive your cars here. I mean, you don't have to make that walk. You can simply drive your cars here to this area. The gates will be open. And also a special FYI, on Tuesday night, in this room, Tuesday night, we're bringing Rabbi Leibel Wolf. Rabbi Leibel Wolf is considered to be one of the world's foremost Kabbalists. He's coming from Australia on a world tour. You can actually read his story in tomorrow's bulletin. There's an article on him and his talk here. And it's in tomorrow's Jewish bulletin. It's coming out. He's a brilliant man, an ex-lawyer who took up Kabbalah and also psychologist. I've heard he's a phenomenal speaker. If you have a chance to hear him, it's either here or in Melbourne. This is probably going to be closer for you than flying out to Australia. And it'll be here at 7:30 on Tuesday. So it's a busy month of programs. And our goal is to take you away from the TV set and from all those wonderful shows, but really get you learning and meeting people this way. And I want to thank you. I'm going to let Rabbi Huff continue. I just want to thank you all for coming. Marlene, thank you for all the work you did to bring all these people here. Allah, of course, thank you again for all your volunteer efforts. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week as well. Rabbi?
Thank you very much. You know, I'd like to spend a little time with you. Everything that I sent out is actually, I think, very readable, and it's very simple. But 2 comments. Actually, just now someone made a comment to me that a lot of what we're talking about is really suitable maybe for, let's say, a first-time marriage. What happens if you've been there, done it? Right now you're looking now, you're a bit older, a bit more mature, whatever it is, and what do you have to say about that? So first of all, I want to point out 2 things. It actually, Yossi mentioned everything except for this. A week from, next Tuesday, he's pushing Kabbalah and you should come, you'll enjoy it. But a week after that will be how to keep your marriage going. And that will be true, basically, most of the things that I'll be talking about will be increasing and how to increase communication and intimacy, and that will work for whatever relationship you're in. It's just that my goal always is for you to get married. So, and just in terms of how to make something that you're in better, I would encourage you, I mean, if you enjoy or you think there's something of value in this, then please come back in 2 weeks and we'll continue about that. But is there anything that we spoke about tonight, for example, that would change if you, let's say you're 65 or older? 65, let's say you have children, okay? Either divorced or widowed, it could be whatever it is, and you're looking for someone. I'm sorry, yes. Do you think anything that we spoke about would change?
Yes.
Okay, what do you think would change?
I don't think that you necessarily need to be looking for a marriage, and yet you could still want a relationship, because a lot of people who get married, whether they're widowed or divorced, after a certain point, it's not the most feasible way to go. And the partners and the people you meet in that age group, I'm talking over 50, predominantly feel the same way. I think it's a recognizable situation that can be acceptable if both people feel that way.
Okay. again, let me repeat to see if I understood correctly and just add some comments on it. And that is that marriage is a very important institution for those that need it. But for those that feel that they don't really need a marriage to provide what they're looking for, which might be companionship, which might be a soulmate, I'm not sure exactly how that would exist without, but a soulmate or just another decent, wonderful person to live with, to experience with, then marriage is not necessary. But you do have to still focus on your goals. What do you want from this man and woman? So, this is not yet the comment I want to make, but if that's the case, then I hope that I didn't waste your time, because most of the things that we spoke about still meant who, what, why, when, right? So just substitute the word marriage for long-term commitment, or whatever it is, right? And still you have to know the person. So instead of saying that, make sure they need marriage and children, put down, make sure that they're financially stable. You know, if you put down your priority, and you don't want to spend the rest of your life and probably physically healthy. I would imagine that you don't want to be involved with someone that has some type of disease. At this stage, he's 55, you can tell me. And if you can't tell me, then there's nothing to talk about. I trust you, you trust me. If I understood that correctly, I would just leave it. So I'll tell you that I hope, again, I didn't waste your time. Use the same focus. However, being the type of a person that I am, I have to tell you, I don't truly believe that the deeper dimension of sharing a life can ever truly be expressed without marriage. I say that, of course, as a religious person, you know, someone that believes in tradition and believes in marriage, but also from a purely psychological thing. The fact that you can't marry based on, like, look, I have assets, I don't want to be a common law thing, you know, I have a lot to lose, or something like that, means that we can't trust each other completely. Now, there are ways to work around it. There's something called prenuptials. I mean, there are ways to do things legally, and that's okay. That's not meaning, that means you're protecting yourself. At the same time, the marriage means it's real. When I say real, it means like this. I appreciate you too much to allow you to be one part away from me. Let me give an example. Even in today's somewhat loose and ridiculous society, when a person says, I am Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, they've already identified themselves in terms of another person. If your name is Jane Hofstein or Samuel Pearlstein, all you said is, there's me. When you say, I am, Mr., as a married person, you've already brought another person into that room, into that conversation. If you say Mrs., you've already brought your husband in. Every time you walk, you talk, you think, you experience, you are experiencing it not only through your eyes, but through the eyes of the person that you've committed your soul, your identity with. One of the greatest benefits of any relationship is the sense of connectedness, okay? Or sharing. Yossi gave me a tape, I forget the guy's name. He had a quick one-liner. The goal of a true relationship is to magnify your own feelings. If you feel good in a true relationship, you're going to feel a lot better.